can stop you from being deceived. If you try to find out what's up my sleeve, you can figure out what a bag of means. If you try, nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from nothing can stop you from being deceived. Nothing can stop you from being deceived.
Oh dang, what's good with it?
Hey.
What's happening, my good brother?
Man, I'm doing good.
How
man.
you doing,
How are
man?
you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. So you popped on quick.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm getting ready to mess some stuff up in here. I don't want to do that.
Man, I've been
good,
working.
man.
That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been getting to it, man. Man, I gotta say that, man, what you're doing, man, is inspiring, man. Not only just to me, but the culture in general, man. So before we get into it, let's first just kind of talk, man, for those who have joined us. Thank you for joining us. We have on the I Cut My Way Out podcast this evening, we have Will Stam out of Atlanta, Georgia. We've had Will on before. Will is a dope barber. He's an entrepreneur. He's a motivational speaker. He's a visionary. He's a whole lot of things. And so we've had him on here, had a great episode. And, man, so we just want to bring you back because you've been doing a lot of big things, man, since we last talked. Some we kind of talked about. That was kind of on your vision board, but man, you bringing things to fruition, and man, we just want to talk about what you got going on, man. So we want to start out just giving some of the people just a little bit about your journey for those who didn't get a chance to watch the first episode, and for those who have joined, who want to see the first episode, they can go to our YouTube page and catch the full first episode that we had you on. But just introduce yourself.
So
I'm
right Will Stam out of Atlanta, Georgia. Been in the barber game now for about 15 years. I've owned my own barbershop for the last 13. I've grown into as many as 3 locations. And now, just as of about 50 days ago, I launched my first barber college right here in Atlanta, Georgia, ProFRESH Barber Academy, February 1st of this year. So that's been an incredible journey in itself. So other than that, you know, I've got into real estate, you know, I've diversified my portfolio tremendously, and all through cutting hair. Like all of the major blessings I've had in my life, whether it be how I met my wife, my kids, some of my greatest friends, businesses, things I've learned have all come from the culture of barbering and inside of a barbershop. So I feel like I'm aligned and I'm in the right place. As long as I'm at the barbershop, it's always the right time, it feels like. And I couldn't be happier in my life with all of the things that I've got going on because of a pair of clippers. So it's been a tremendous journey. And now I'm just looking forward to helping as many people as I can have very, very similar results.
Absolutely. One thing, man, that continues to inspire me too is that you came from humble beginnings, and I mean, I'm being, I guess that doesn't even describe it, right? When we talked about the first episode, man, where you came from, what you went through, get where you're at, right? And so I know you had 3 locations. At the time we talked last, you had 3 barbershops in Atlanta, and across the 3, they were almost filled to capacity, right? You were doing a little bit of teaching in the evenings at that point. So what was it that made you say, okay, I want to go into ownership in terms of a barber academy, and I want to start to sow into the next generation?
It was something I kind of realized about 10 years ago when I was hiring barbers fresh out of school. When I first got my shop, I was hiring barbers fresh out of school, and
Okay.
that's when it became apparent to me that there was some sort of disconnect, right? Either the teachers weren't teaching, the schools didn't care, the students didn't care. All of us probably deserve blame in that, right? But the result wasn't getting produced. So I raised my eyebrows, right?
Okay.
As a businessman, whenever you see something and you start businesses and you start to see, like, you start to analyze, right? And you're like, yo, what is the problem here? You know what I'm saying? Because as an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, you're nothing more than a problem solver. So I look for problems. And I'm like, okay, how can I fix this? How can I fix that? And when I was seeing it, I was like, something isn't clicking here. And I couldn't really get an answer. I talked to teachers, they say it's students. I talked to students, they say it's teachers. I talked to the school owners, and I was like, are you in our industry? Like, do you cut hair? Do you do hair? Oh, no, I just own the school. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I started to dig deeper, and I said, well, let me just go get my instructor license, because out of necessity, I started teaching the barbers who I was hiring, because my reputation was on the line. As a shop owner, if bad haircuts come out of my shop, I need to be the person that's notified. And when I started getting complaints, I was like, whoa, who'd you go to? So I started training my barbers. And that's where I discovered a knack for natural ability to be able to teach and make things simple. I wasn't very smart, right? When I was in high school, my teachers used to send me to guidance counselors like, yo, he has problems comprehending. Like, he needs some help. He needs some different classes. So I had to make things simple so I could understand them, for one. But then I realized by doing that, it was helpful for other people as well. So that's how I discovered it. Then I went to school, got my license, and started working in schools. And I'm the type of person, right? I'm a self-motivated individual, very driven, very goal-oriented. I have a need to see results, right? That can be good and bad, right? Because sometimes it takes patience, but I can be very impatient, right? So it has its downsides too. It's not all good all the time, right? So I started going into these schools, and I was working underneath people who weren't as driven or as motivated as me. So that started to get frustrating. If you've ever worked with somebody who didn't really want to work as hard as you, but you're underneath them, you're not authoritative over them, that gets very, very uncomfortable very, very quickly. And I was like, you know what? I said, instead of me complaining, instead of me trying to get these people who don't care to care, why don't I just create my own? So I really started to think about it. And then I was like, okay, I started calculating the cost, right? That's Bible, right? Don't do nothing without calculating the cost first. I started calculating the cost, and I was like, whoa, this will take a lot, right? And I was like, man, I got a couple barbershops. Like, I could chill. I don't really need to do much. I don't have to do this. But there kept being that itch, right? There kept being that thing that says, Will, you know you're supposed to fix this. Just go fix it. And so I had to, calculate the cost. So then that's when I started diversifying my portfolio. Because if all my money was tied up in just behind a chair or just in barbering, and I walk away from that to go build a school, I'm putting my family at risk. So I had to go get into different things, in real estate being one of them. So then
and we talked about you even doing that before, putting the family at risk and being a risk taker.
So I went and did that, started to create some streams of income that was more than my overhead, more than my bills. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, now I have my stuff set up. That's why I always tell barbers, like, you got to have a strategy in what you do. I wanted to open a school 10 years ago. I just now got it done. Because I had to create passive income streams. I had to set things up. I had to make sure that retirement was well on its way. It's not something you say, oh, I'm just going to do it. No, you can't just wing it. You'll turn into a little chicken wing if you just wing it, Yeah, exactly. So I put all the foundational pieces in place, and then I said, you know what? I want to do this, not only for myself and, my legacy, but for the culture as well, man, because it's needed, man. Barbers, we are so individualistic, and we battle with each other, and we're in constant competition because nobody's fixing the core issue. So.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And one thing I wanted to add, because you made a statement, you said, I wasn't very smart. I think you're brilliant, my brother. But one thing is, when they put us in schools like, high school curriculums and things like that, it's not taken into account that people learn different. And I'm seeing you in, that we'll get into is how hands-on that you are, and we all learn different. So when you put somebody into something that they enjoy first and foremost, and it's something that they're learning the way that they learn best, now you know what I'm saying, you cooking and you're on something. You know what I'm saying?
I think my biggest impact going forward, even with the school, what you guys will start to see is the instructors I'm building. In my first 10 students, 4 of them are instructor trainees. And the way I'm teaching them and developing them, their minds are blown. And all of them are shop owners. And they're like, and they were telling me, they're like, man, my biggest fear was that I was going to go to barber school. They were going to slap me with a textbook and tell me figure it out. And when they came here, they're like, there's no way you're doing this like this. And I was like, they're like, how you break stuff down, how you teach, how you do all this stuff. They're like, this is incredible. And they've all told me, like, man, I just want to work here when I get done. Like, you make this thing fun again. And, you know, people don't talk about that. There's no barber schools in Georgia that have an instructor program. You know what barber schools do? They're like, oh, free scholarship to get an instructor program. And then you just come there, get your hours, and then you figure it out on your own. And then, but here's the problem with that. Like, okay, cool. You get another notch on your belt. You got your license, right? But the problem becomes you don't know what you're doing. So then guess what? You go duplicate that same foolishness. But you got a piece of paper, though. And it's just, and all it does is water down the game. And then we have people who like, oh, I want to own my own shop one day. Well, it don't make no sense for you to own your own barbershop if you don't have any licensed qualified barbers to put in it. You know, the real leaders in our industry, man, we got to step up to the plate and really sacrifice and build. And if you're somebody who wants to join me on that mission, you can come and roll in barber school and see what it really should be like, especially if you're here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes. So I have a question. So part of the mission, when you were there, you talked about, you know, barbers that were coming in entry level and you were having to teach. So do you feel, because you're honest and transparent, and sometimes you say what others won't say no.
They like me for it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I understand.
Man. But obviously you're doing something the right way. So did you feel like is there a large number of barber schools in the Atlanta area? Or did you just feel that you had something that was so unique that so many others weren't creating and weren't putting out, that you had something to give and you knew that you could add to the industry?
For one, the research says there's only 23 in the state of Georgia.
Okay. In the entire state?
Off the top of my head,
so
I know
definitely
about, I've heard the names of about 6 in Metro Atlanta, right? And then since I've opened, 2 of them have closed. So I think at this moment in time, I don't know for a fact, but I'm the only one with an Atlanta address, barber school. Now there's beauty schools that have like a little basement barber program. You know what I'm saying? Where they got a cosmetologist teaching
totally different.
And I don't want to disrespect the cosmos. I really don't. But barbers is barbers, man. It's just a little bit different, man. And we have to set the standard a little higher so we can get the respect we deserve, you know? And that's my entire mission in all of this, is to show people that what is possible if you go about it the right way. I tell people all the time, like, so Dan, I want to open up, you know, a school like you. And I said, I love that, but I put in relentless grind for 15 years. Are you willing to do that? Now you can come join me and help me, but everybody's like, oh, I want to be the owner. I want to be the owner. Listen, man, owner is what you get when you graduate from all the pain and heartache of grinding for a decade, man. Everybody wants to go pay $150 to get an LLC. If you ain't got no customers, you ain't got no, you don't have no business. It can be overrated. It's overrated. It's just people are out of their lane. They're in a lane they didn't even earn in the first place. You know, I was
right. or good, because everybody
That's
wants
what they
to be
think.
a boss.
The boss works harder than
Right,
the
so they
employee,
say.
man. You know what I'm saying? Like the boss work, man. I tell people, man, you know, since I've opened the school, right? Since I've opened the school, 5 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., I'm in my textbook studying. It's people that rather go out and party. It's people rather go out and, you know,
No doubt.
put in all this, you know, and have fun and work-life balance. I'm mission driven. The mission matters to me.
No doubt. No doubt. So in the process of you opening the school, right, you ended up closing down one of your locations. What went into that? Was it just too much
to be
juggle?
honest, no. It wasn't too much to juggle. I have, you know, strong leadership on my team, right? And the problem is I had that store for 12 and a half years. And the owner didn't put $1 into it the entire time. And the building was deteriorating. When it rained, it would flood. We'd be shop vacuuming out water. About 5 years ago, there was like a little leak or something because it started doing that early. It caused mold in that barbershop, and I had to close it for like 7-8 days. It cost me $6,500 for a restoration process that I paid out of my own money. Yeah, and the owner just didn't want to, you know what I'm saying, do that, but I had a full shop. And people were like, oh, well, you can sue them, right? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, right? But you sue somebody, and then they don't renew your lease, and then you lose your business, and you pay attorney fees and all that, and it's like, you end up losing anyway. The little man always end up losing when you fight against the big dogs. Like, it sounds good in theory, but going to war over $5 grand, and it costs you 50 grand, and then you lose your location and your business, and you got to do another build out for another 75,000. Was that 5 grand really worth it? And that's when people talk like that, they don't know business. And that's why I like, you can't listen to these Instagram folks just be talking because they don't know nothing. Right? So I had to do that, and you know, a couple years later, and obviously I made a bunch of money, you know, at the barbershop and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, my barbers were hitting me up every day, and this was a problem. And I talked to the owner, and he was like, "Look, man, either you gonna pay your rent or you're not, man. What you gonna do?" And I just felt like at the end of the day, I've been here 12 and a half years. I never paid you late, not one time. I even paid you during the pandemic when I had to close my business. So it got to a point for me where it was like, you know what? It became hard to recruit at that location because everybody saw my other 2 locations and they were like, well, I want to go there. I want to go there. So then I'm losing barbers because of the issues with the landlord and the water and all that. I didn't want to invest more money in that business because my business philosophy is I'm not going to keep putting water in your well and then have you charge me more money to drink it. So it just really came to a head. It was anybody who worked there will tell you it was probably the best barbershop in Atlanta, Georgia in the last 20 years. The walk-in flow, the locations, I actually hated to close it. But I wasn't willing to put $25,000-$30,000 more dollars in something and have a dude charge me more money to, you know what I'm saying, do that. So it just really just from a number standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, from a problematic standpoint, it just came to a head. And I, over the last, you know, I did 2 5-year leases and then I did 2 1-year leases. And in my 12th year, I said, I'm doing a month to month because you're not doing anything to this business. And it's causing more headache than anything. So then I got out of it scot-free, got my deposit back. And at the end of the day, I had, you know, it got down to like 3 barbers in there. And I told all of them, I said, and all of them stayed with me. They're all at my other locations because, you know, I'm very transparent. I'm open with them. They know they can trust me. I'm not going to leave them hanging. So I gave them all intro rates and we kind of got it relocated. And once I made sure all of them were taken care of and comfortable, then I said, okay, let's make the change. So it hurt my pride, hurt my ego a little bit to, you know what I'm saying, to close it. But at the end of the day, it was the best decision for my business at that time. And I squeezed all the juice out of that lemon. I have no regrets. That's what's up.
Hey, Will, before we go any further, I want to introduce my co-host, my barber brother right here.
Hi, how are you?
This is Shy.
What's up with
Shy Will?
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, bro.
I caught a little bit. I was driving, dropping my daughter and my wife off, and I caught a little bit. But first and foremost, welcome to the podcast, man. Sorry I'm late. It's been one of them days, man. I had a bunch of kids back to back. And yeah, man. Yeah, it was one of them days where I wanted to just put my clippers down and go home. So we heading out. I overheard some things you was talking about. You got a pretty interesting story. I've been following you for a while. One of my first books that I purchased in an attempt to be a better understanding, to have a better understanding of what it takes to be a productive owner of a business. I actually got the recommendation from you, 21 Absolute Laws of Power. No, 21 Absolute Laws of Leadership.
Okay. Yeah, John Maxwell, for sure.
21
irrefutable laws of leadership.
Yeah,
21
irrefutable laws of leadership.
It's an all-time great. It's an all-time great, for sure.
Yeah, that helped out a lot, man. But what it did, what I didn't expect it to do, is it opened up a lot of curiosity and interest to look, bro. It's one of them days. I'm telling you, bro, it's one of them days today. But yeah, man, I don't want to hold up and talk too much, man. I want to hear more about your story. Congratulations on the school. It seems like you're putting a lot into that, man. I think that's going to be extremely fruitful for you. I really like the way that you shoot your content in regards. I remember you told a short story about your clients would come in and people would ask you questions and you would be answering the questions, and it got to the point where they was like, hey, why don't you just set up a camera and post it, man? I would love to hear more about that, man.
Yeah, one of my clients, right? He's probably my top client, right? All my clients know this. He's one of my best friends, man. Like, I got two really like brothers to me, like best friends. They're like my left and my right hand. And the gentleman's name is Kirk, and we partnered on a couple real estate properties here in Atlanta. And he used to come in, we used to talk, right? And we used to always, just rap about stuff. And he should be like, bruh, like, you drop gold on my head. Like, not only with a haircut, but you drop gold on my head every time we talk. And he was like, these haircuts are therapeutic, right? And he was like, I leave here with so much inspiration every time I come. And I was like, that's so interesting you say that, because it's not the first time I heard that. And he said, well, here's what I'm going to do. He said, when I get up, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to put you on camera. So a lot of the videos you guys first see me start doing, I'm standing behind my chair and I'm like, 3 things to help new barbers, or 2 things to stay away from, or how I made a $12,000 mistake. Don't do this and all that stuff, right? All them videos was actually my client getting up out the chair after they get a haircut and actually just turning the camera on, and I'm just going off the top of my head. And then it got to a point where it's like, all right, we got like 10 of these done. And I was like, yo, I'm under pressure now. Like, you know what I'm saying? I need to actually think. Like, all right, well, you got a week. You got to figure out something. So I would go through the week and I'd be like, oh, this is good. I want to talk about this. And then he would just turn the camera on, and then he would actually edit it and send it to me. And I would just post it. And I was like, and it would get traction, and people were like loving it and stuff. And he was like, bro, he's doing good. And I was like, dang. So I just kept doing that. And as I kept doing it, I was like, well, show me how to edit. So then he would show me how to edit. Then I started editing and I started listening to myself talk, because, when you edit a video, you got to listen to yourself talk, like, because you got to keep stopping it and you rewind, and you make sure you got to stop it at the right spot and all that. So I actually started getting better as a speaker because of my training, but also because I was doing it and then editing too.
Absolutely.
So I keep listening to myself, and then I'm like, got it. So then I would mix my training with my practice. So I knew how to become a better speaker. So then I started speaking, and then I was doing the editing. So I was constantly criticizing and changing and knowing what I need to do differently. So, so I continued on doing that. And then after a while, I got very comfortable on camera. So then I get into the classroom. I've always been in the classroom, in front of 20, 25 students. And I've been in the barbershop my whole life. So talking is not something I'm scared to do, right? Now, if you tell me to write an email, I might start sweating a little bit. But if you tell me talk, I can talk all day. So I just started going. And then now every day I'm in front of, 10, 15 students. And I'm in there and things are just coming out. And they're just like, yo, we got to record that. I'm like, all right, but what did I just say? And then they're like, oh, they'll just turn the camera on. Like, we don't care. Just keep it on. So now, like, random times, my students will just be recording me. If they know I'm in one of them zones, they just pull out their camera real quick and they send it to me, and then I do the edits, and then I just put it up. So it really just came off of my friends being like, bro, we're just going to turn the camera on. And for me, I don't mind a challenge. Like, if somebody tell me I can't do something, that's like dumping gasoline on my head. I'm already lit, but if you dump gasoline on my head, it's going to get a whole lot.
You know what? I think that's common amongst barbers, though, man. I think that's a barber's mentality. Most barbers, 98, I want to say 99% of the barbers that I know that's successful, that's their mentality. The more you tell us, soon to be successful barber how much he can't do, the more they're gonna push to do it. The more they're gonna push to be successful in areas that people want to lend their fears or their failures on to you about. Let me ask you a question though, man. Are you, because I know you guys just purchased the school, you own or do you co-own your barbershop?
I own all the stuff you see me with.
Okay.
Me and my wife.
Are you managing both businesses at the same time?
Yes. I do have a manager at each one of my locations at the barbershop. At the school right now, I'm all everything. Right. Okay. I'm the secretary. I'm the phone answer. I'm the theory teacher. I'm the practical teacher. I'm the person who handles the files. I'm the content creator. I'm the editor. I'm everything, man. I tell you know, people are like, oh, I want to open up a school. People are like, Stan, man, you know, what if you train all these instructors, they become your competition and all that? I said, listen, man, I don't care nothing about that. I know the type of work I put in. Ain't no catching me, man. I'm gonna be the roots gonna be so deep, man. It just is what it is, because I'm just not gonna stop. I'm 36 years old, man. I got a whole 20-year run.
Right. Hey, before we go any further, Nola Boy for Life wants to know what's the name of the barbering school and where is it located. So can you drop?
You want me to type it in, or you want me to just say it? It's ProFresh Barber Academy. Yep, it's called ProFresh. Fuller Life. That's one of my crossover students. Nico. Yeah, it's called ProFresh Barber Academy. And we're located in Atlanta, Georgia, 30329. It's actually Brookhaven, but it's on the line. Some addresses have Brookhaven, some have Atlanta, Georgia, but the zip code is 30329. And it's pretty close to Midtown. It's maybe 5-7 minutes from Midtown. It's in the inner city. It's on the bus line. So it's, you know, come one, come all. And we got 78 applications as I stand here right now. 78 applications. Wow. I got about 10 people that are interested in starting when we start the night program. I'm really just wanting to train all my own instructors, man. Because I'm building culture. So what I don't want to do is just hire instructors from other schools. It's not that they're bad people or anything like that. I just want my own culture. So the best chance you have to work at my school is to go through my instructor program. So if you're somebody who wants to teach, then come be a part of our culture so you can see how we get down. And then
I want to put you on the hot seat for a second. Yeah. I want to put you on the hot seat for a second, right? Okay. Because I know a lot of the people in viewing right now, they probably familiar with you. They're familiar with the school, or they go to the school, or whatever the case may be. They have some kind of, right? The question I want to ask, man, is this the question? This is coming from the voice of barbers who went through the barber schools and barbers who are going through the barber schools and barbers who are currently students at barber schools, right? The question I want to ask is a series of questions, right? And you just real quick, 30 seconds, what come to your mind, and then when you finish, I'm gonna shoot out the next question. You cool with that? Cool. First question: barber schools have a bad reputation of not doing anything more than preparing the students and enrollees to take the test and pass the test. What are you doing different to make sure that they're picking up more than just the ability to pass the test?
So Shaq, it's interesting you say that, because I wanted to ask that same question, but let me read off something that comes straight from Will, right? Will, I looked at your vision. Your vision says to ultimately lay a foundational system for success for entry-level barbers to learn, develop, and enter into ownership, and to retire financially free. Read that was deep, and it's along the same exact lines as Shaq. So that's your vision. What are you doing different as he said, to accomplish
All right.
what your vision
Now,
is in most barber
I'll be
colleges?
quick because I got 30 seconds. The easy answer is the standard has been so low for so long. As long as I actually care, I'm already ahead of the game. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to teach barbers all the fundamentals, right? So they have a foundation that they can actually build a career on. But we're also going to specialize in business. And I think with today's world, the barbershop, as you known it 20 years ago, is not the same. You don't just show up on Friday and Saturday and 100 walk-ins come in. You have to learn how to get into the digital space and market. So at my school, I created a digital content studio where we're actually going to teach barbers how to market. If you follow some of my students, they're already learning how to create content. I'm teaching them how to edit. I'm giving them marketing plans. I'm giving them all of the stuff that they need so they can attract clients, as well as all of the fundamentals that they haven't been taught. And we teach theory. Most barber schools get you in there and just, hey, you just cut enough, you'll figure it out. My theory classes is off the charts. So all of my students can speak to that. So marketing, business, fundamentals, and a serious focus on theory.
Okay. Second question. What comes in a barber kit when I enroll at ProFresh Barber Academy?
Okay, you get I got a whole picture. If you Google my business, if you Google ProFresh Barber Academy and you scroll through the pictures, you'll see everything that comes in it. But just to give them to you off the top of my head, you'll get wall magic clips, cordless, and this T-outliner with the cord. Two classics, two best value clippers on the market, in my opinion. I've been a fan of the gray and this T-outliners with the cord since the beginning of my barber career, and I still have them in my hand every day. Wall magic clip is the best clipper on the market for the money. It costs about $89. And the wall premium guards is the guards that I still use no matter what clipper I'm using. But wall magic clip wall seniors is what I use. You get 3 textbooks. You get your gray textbook, your gray workbook, and you get your gray exam review book. You get a mannequin. You get a nice pair of shears, capes, shampoo capes. You're gonna get your razors, your blades, all your water bottles. It's probably about 25, 30 items. All your hair clips, all that stuff. So my students haven't had to go buy anything. Now, obviously, you're not going to get a $300-$400 pair of shears. They probably going to cost about $40, $50. You don't need, but you're cutting on mannequins, man. So you don't want to put them on
as a student anyway.
But yeah, all of my students, man, they haven't complained about anything in the kit.
Okay. Third question.
Yes.
How important will barber shows and trade shows be to you, your students in the school?
They'll be important, right? Because I think you can learn from those environments and you can gather inspiration from those environments. Usually at some of the hair shows and stuff like that. Now, I don't recommend people go to one every week because it feels like there's something coming up every week. And it's usually the same educator simply because they have a little influence online and people are trying to sell tickets. I get it, right? But I think you probably should go to one or two, maybe even 3, once a quarter at most, a year. Pick the good ones and go. You can get a lot done as long as you have an objective when you go. And for me, like I'll be going to CT Barber Expo in May. And for me, that's an inspiring experience because there's a lot of people there who have done very well in our industry. And I do believe just as a person, a part of the industry, you should go to those type of events and support them. Now, with that being said, I think the leaders of these events need to work really, really hard to bring real education and new technology to those events for the advancement of the people and not just a barber battle and a $25 trophy that feeds ego, because that ultimately is what tears us apart. So I do think we need to have some objectives and we need to work as hard as possible to bring the best education forward. Yes.
So I got a question. Will any of your students attend?
Yeah, I plan on taking as many of them that want to pay to go. I got all of them. They're all working it out now. So hopefully I can take about 7 or 8 of them up with me. And we'll all go up and you know, I'll just, you know, show them a good time and let them experience something different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things, man, is we've been watching your progress and you know, with the whole barber school. Can you talk a little bit about what went into it? Because sometimes, man, things, a lot of times, things on social media look so much easier than they really are. Can you talk about some of the pitfalls and the headaches and some of the grind that it took just to get the barber school up?
I'll be honest, man. It was a 9-month grueling process, not progress, but process. Because I actually signed the lease in May 1st to, you know, I negotiated 120 days to do my build out, which I thought was good, right? You usually get, you know, a month per year of a contract you sign, right? All that depends on negotiations. So I got a, you know, a 5-year lease with an opt out after 3, right? If I want to opt out, right? So that led to 4 months, 1 month for each year, right? The average between 3 and 5 is 4, and you get 4 months free rent. So I figured, okay, about 60 days to go through the permitting process and about 60 days to do the build out process. And then we open up really around the 120-day mark, which would have been first week of September, late August. That's why originally I said, you know, school coming late August, right?
Okay.
But then we did the blueprints and stuff, and we got permitting because the city of Brookhaven is, you know, the city we went through. So we got the blueprints in 60 days, right? But there was one caveat that I never ran into before. Didn't know, couldn't see, right? You can go to the offices and stuff, but back then, the CEOs and stuff, they still had people working from home because it's super convenient. So you know how it is when you're trying to email and call, people can give you the runaround. You can't show up in nobody's face, you can't really get no answers. So come June 30th, I'm thinking, all right, cool, we ready to, you know, go. And they're like, well, you have to get the water permit. Now, I opened up businesses in Atlanta and I opened up businesses in Cobb, right? So Fulton County and Cobb County. This one was in DeKalb County because it's Brookhaven. Brookhaven became its own city in 2011. So all the water infrastructure was still ran by DeKalb County. So I had my electrical permit, I had my plumbing permit, and I had my building permit and fire permit. But I didn't have a water permit. So we had to go to DeKalb County to get that. That took 60 days. Because we were 30 days into the permitting process, and they're like, oh, well, we use a new system now, so you have to resubmit after 30 days. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But they're like, yeah, it should be pretty simple. We'll just go in real quick and figure it out. But I had to, at that time, call my city council member just to get somebody on the phone. Luckily, he's been my client for 10 years. So he couldn't help me in the process, but he could get somebody to answer the phone. So he got somebody to answer the phone for me. So we went through that. So then that took another 30 days. And then 30 days after we submitted, they came back and was like, oh, well, you need a backflow device. Something I never heard of before.
That's another $6 grand.
So that was another $2,300 to get a backflow device installed.
I had to put one in my shop, man.
Right. So I was like, okay, it was a $2,300 expense down the drain. So then we're like,
something this big.
Yeah, and it literally took them 10 minutes to do, 20 minutes.
Man.
Then they had to test it, and they had to submit the reports. Then they're like, okay, well, now that we know what that is, now you have to resubmit your plans with updated water reports on how much you're going to use based on how many shampoo bowls you got. You know, in the schools, you got to have at least 7. Yeah. So I was like, okay, now this is getting interesting. So now I'm paying rent, and I ain't even started the construction process really. So I'm like, okay, now it's getting real. But this is why, as I said earlier, I had to plan for having passive income streams. So then at this point, all I did was lose a little bit of money. It didn't affect anything else in my lifestyle. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we go through that. So then finally we get all the permits clear and everything. It's October 20th. So then Brookhaven is like, well, now we have a new system. So you have to fill out these online applications with all of your contractors' information and all that and resubmit to our new system. So then we get all that done, except for one, the plumbing permit. And the plumber who did the permits, that got him approved in June, he disappears for like 10 days. So now I'm like, yo, I can't make this up. So now he pops back on the scene November 1st. And I'm like, now can we start? So then we didn't start the build out until November 1st. So then I figured that was going to take 60 days, right? So then about December 15, 16, 17, we're about finished. And I'm like, all right, so now we're just ready to call for final inspections. They're like, oh, no, you have to get a fire inspection. And I'm like, well, when is that? They're like, well, they only do on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So then that
They
following
send one guy out, he walk around.
So then that following Monday, they're like, oh, yeah, he's on vacation until the. I'm like, yo. I'm like, yo, get out of here,
He
man.
the fire inspector for the whole county, like.
Right. So then another guy, they send somebody else out, and then they're like, oh, well, you need one fire sprinkler in the cleaner closet because it's an enclosed room. It needs a sprinkler. 3,600 square feet space, one fire sprinkler. So then we call the companies, but then that's when that cyclone storm came. And all of the pipes bust across the city because it was so cold. Then they're like, oh, we can't get you. Call us back at the top of the year. Because all these are emergency, they're priority. So now I'm thinking I'm going to open up January 3rd. I'm sitting on ice for one fire sprinkler.
Right.
So then we had to call a company that was like an hour away from Atlanta, and they came in. And then, you know, they were like, oh, okay, we got to come give you a quote. And they come give you a quote. And they're like, oh, we'll get you in the system. So then it's another week. So then it's like, okay. So now I'm like, all right, January 14th, we're all clear. Right. So everything's done. Everybody's paid. All is good. So then the 23rd, I did the grand opening, and then I opened up on the 1st. But I was paying rent since September 1st.
So what did you learn through that process?
What did I learn is that obviously I thought I did pretty good negotiating 4 months, right? And you could say get 6 months, get a year, get all that. And what I would say to that is all that's negotiable. You know how these landlords are. They got the leverage. So once again, I tell people, it sounds good in theory, but the landlord, all they got to do is simply say no, and then you're missing out on the opportunity. You feel what I'm saying? So it sounds good in theory. Like, oh, the landlord's supposed to pay for that. Yeah, but if they don't, now what?
Yeah.
You always got to ask yourself as an entrepreneur, okay, now what? Okay, now what? Okay, now what? Right? So that's why I tell people, man, when they come to business, man, like people, that's how I know. You got some people, they Google entrepreneurs, right? They go look it up, like, well, see, it says this. That's not reality, though.
Yeah.
You know, they say some things are smart and then others are wise. You got smart people on social media. There ain't very many wise ones, right? So I go through that. So what I would say I learned is if you can get your attorney to negotiate that your rent doesn't commence until your blueprints are passed. Okay? So, because once you get the blueprints clear, it's just a construction build out. So worst case scenario, put that in the fine print and hope their attorney don't catch it. You know what I'm saying? So you might be able to get away with that, but that's legal stuff. You know what I'm saying? You got to have an attorney to be able to, you know what I mean, work all that through and try to fight for that. And then also get tenant improvement money. Now I got tenant improvement money. I got that really good. But then you got to look at all the terms that come with that too. You know what I'm saying? So I learned that. And then I also learned too, like with vetting contractors, right? Now I have a good electrical contractor, but his subcontractors, the people who he picks, aren't very good. You know what I'm saying? And he's always waiting on them and stuff like that. So I would tell a person to vet your contractors really good. And 9 times out of 10, go with the person that may be a little bit more expensive, but has their issue in order because it'll probably save you more in the long run. So I would
definitely save you time. That's one of the things. That was the biggest
the cost may be more up front, but they save you time and quality, which in turn is worth that money tenfold.
Absolutely.
So I would do that. And then I would say, whenever you enter into a new city that you're not familiar, do a little bit more extensive research. Now, this is stuff that my engineer should have known, but what made it difficult to understand is they changed all their procedures because of COVID. A lot of that stuff you just couldn't see coming, and you couldn't show up in nobody's face and talk to nobody, but you don't know that until it's time to, you know what I mean? Until you in business, right? So
Right.
So
Right.
it's just a lot of moving parts. And like I said, that was like my fourth time. And I thought I learned a lot in the third, but the fourth one trumped all of them together. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
So it
I would assume
is
that
what
you
it
went
is.
through a lot of. I would assume that you went through a lot of adjustments through that phase too, because opening a school is a lot different from opening a small business. Because although a school is a small business, it has a lot of corporation-esque hurdles that you got to go through in order to get, like, all the permits you have to get.
Yeah.
The additional.
Oh, that ain't even talking about the Georgia State Board.
Yeah,
Barbering.
yeah.
That's just
Okay.
city stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I said, like when people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna open up a school," I'm like, "All right, it sounds good. I might make it look easy, but I'm like, okay."
It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of the curriculum and everything that you've built for the
Mm-hmm.
school in regards to how the school is going to function,
Mm-hmm.
I heard you earlier say that part of your vetting process for the instructors is, more than likely you won't be a fit for the school unless you went
Mm-hmm.
through your instructor teaching program.
Mm-hmm.
With that being the case, that leaves you wearing a whole lot of hats, which you wearing right now,
Mm-hmm.
running the school.
Mm-hmm.
How are you handling all of that? Managing that much by yourself can be extremely overwhelming.
Yeah, it is.
Can
it
be.
is at times, right? But I taught at other schools, so a lot of the lesson planning and curriculum. There's 21 chapters in that great textbook.
Right.
I got about 17, 18 of them on a string with slides and everything already done because I've taught and done those at other people's schools, right? So the instructor part is a little bit different. That's where, but with all my certification training and communication and leadership, and then my experience in classroom, a lot of that stuff is showing up in a major way right now that most people aren't even exposed to. Like if I was going to teach at a hair show, I wouldn't come in teaching haircuts and color and all that stuff. I'd come in teaching communication and leadership because I feel like I really want to put together an entire curriculum on shop management for business owners. I think business owners struggle because we don't know how to effectively communicate. Like I got certifications in personality types. You know what I mean? Like I can identify personality styles within 5 to 10 minutes of talking.
So stay right there.
Yeah.
I got a question for that. Here's another one of them questions. This is actually should have been the first question in the hot seat questions. How are you? What is your approach to handling this the new millennial characteristic negative approaches to barber school? A lot of new barbers coming into barbering, they social media geniuses and they figured it all out. And they just come into your school paying some money to get their license. How are you handling those personalities?
Well, when they come in, because I got one or two, right, that come in. But the way I prepare, it opens their eyes. Because when somebody is prepared and somebody is teaching, as they say, all that tough bravado and all that, it breaks right down.
Right.
Because it's like, they say like when a real one walk in the room, the inferiors show themselves, right? So it's like when you walk in and you know somebody about their business, you're like, oh. And then I let them know up front. I'm like, listen, we ain't gonna do that today. But I do it with love because I learned how to communicate, right? And at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff is insecurities, and they're just trying to cover those insecurities. So if you love on somebody, they'll let their guard down, and then you can get to their ear and then ultimately to their heart. And that's how change happens.
Absolutely.
It's extremely important to get ahead of that, man, because I've seen it. It's contagious. I've seen one or two bad apples spoil the bunch in barber schools. I've seen it, and I mean, you can go in pretty much any barber school, and you'll feel it. You'll be able to feel it in an environment as soon as you walk into the barber school.
And I'll say this with that too. See, most teachers work at a barber school where the barber's not the owner. So the owner cares about the student and the check, and they undermine the teacher, so the teacher can't have any control. If you come in my school acting a fool, I'll tell you hit the door. Here go your transcript and your money. Get out of here.
Right.
Because what I'm not going to let you do is disrupt my learning environment. And I don't need your money.
But
and
also,
see, when they know, it's just like barbers, right? When people know you got a replacement, they act right. When students know they'll get kicked out if they cut up, they're gonna act right or they're gonna get kicked out.
Right.
I'm not tolerating that foolishness. I'm not gonna disrespect you. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna coach you. I'm gonna love on you. But you're not gonna be in here cutting a fool.
Right. Yeah. But you know, one of the things, Will. So, and I think, Shad, like with him, one, you're a barber. You own it. You're a barber, even though you're a veteran barber. Not only have you taught, you've kept up with the evolution of barbering. So you're cutting, you know what I'm saying? Your cutting is solid, you know what I'm saying? And your content is solid. So you're doing things that the millennials are doing, and you're capitalizing. Like, you know, Shai, you mentioned his content. So you crossed all them bridges, so you're coming at them with all that.
It's so funny. It's so funny you say that. Not to cut you off. It's so funny you say that. 3 days ago, right? 4 days ago on Saturday, right? I posted a random video on TikTok. Like, I just got on TikTok. And my students came in the next day and it was like, yo, your TikTok video got 100,000 views. I got like 6 videos on there. One of them got 100,000 views in this week. So, you know, the younger generation, TikTok matters. They see me with 100,000 views. They don't care what I'm talking about in tools and implements no more. They're like, yo, you got 100,000 views on TikTok. So it's just weird, right? But you just have to find a way to be able to connect with them. And like I said, I'm always on, I'm always teaching, and I'm always trying to, you know, develop them. Most of these young people don't care nowadays, unfortunately. If you care, you're just rare. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people, like, what we need in the world more now, especially in barber culture, is we need to learn how to communicate, and we need to learn how to lead. Like, please, at the next barber show, hire somebody who can teach communication and leadership. Because I think if we had that, we'd have a lot more unity and not as much dissension. Because here's the thing, most barbershop owners, they want to teach you and talk to you how they communicate. But if you don't communicate like that, how does it feel? It rubs you the wrong way. It creates toxic culture because we just simply don't understand each other's learning styles, personality styles, and we don't understand leadership. So if we're 0 for 3, that's a strikeout. From my view, it ain't never gonna work. And then once people's feelings get hurt, now nobody's listening to either side. Owners talking about these barbers ain't ish, and barbers talking about I ain't want to work for nobody. All that is because of poor leadership, poor communication, and not understanding each other's personalities and desires of their heart.
I think that's kind of generalizing it though, because you got a lot of, not that I disagree with you, but you got a lot of people are imperfect. This is just in the human condition, period. We all imperfect in some way, right? I think a lot of times what you have is you have people who don't fully understand what it means on both ends to work with emotional intelligence. And you have the shop owner trying to lead, because in most cases, right, we're going to say in 99% of the cases when you have a shop owner who was a barber before they became a shop, not just somebody who went and purchased a shop, right? In most cases, that barber he's put down the foundational work ethic to get to that point to opening a barbershop, right? In most cases, once they open a barbershop, they understand physically, mentally, and emotionally what it's going to take, what sacrifices you're going to have to make in order to get to this point, right? So when barbers come into the shop, the attempt from most shop owners is to get barbers who may not be familiar with that work ethic to understand the way you're approaching it isn't going to render the results that you're looking for. Here's another way to do it. But because both elements in the room are not working with emotional intelligence, an imperfect person can only communicate to you the way that they know how to communicate. And another imperfect person who hasn't been taught how to receive communication can only receive the information they can, download what they can, and the rest is going to fall on deaf ears. But and like you said, I think one of the biggest problems in barbering, period, is before you can teach leadership, before you can teach communication, before you can teach emotional intelligence, any of that, you have got to get people bought into understanding that you have to be willing to change your mindset. The mindset that you came into this industry with, in most cases, is not going to be conducive to any growth or success.
Now, I agree with what you're saying, but when you say speaking in general, and then you say what you just said, that's actually what I'm saying, right? But you can't change a person's mindset until you can communicate effectively enough to touch their heart.
I don't know. I don't know.
Here's what I'm saying, right? Love is the only thing that can change somebody if they're going to change. Would you agree with that?
No.
Okay, well then we have nothing to talk about, because I agree with that.
Yeah. I'm listening, but I don't.
A person, like, there are things, right, where somebody, when somebody, you got to think about it. Whenever somebody does something for you and they show you love, it has an impact on you, does it not?
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So it's like,
and this is what
somebody can drill quotes in your head all day long, but it don't necessarily get through. But when somebody impacts your heart, that's when change starts.
And I would agree with that. So this is what I would say between both of you, right? I think what you're saying, Will, and I agree. I don't think love necessarily ultimately changes things, but I think when a person knows that you care about them, they open themselves up, and then once they open themselves up, they're willing to accept things from you that
that's
what
I'm saying, though. But how do you get a person to open up?
Right.
You got to lead with love. You can't do it no other way. You
and
can't
see,
do
that's
it no
the
other
part.
way.
That's the part I agree, and I agree to disagree, right? Because while I totally agree with you that once if you do something or you say something or your actions impact a person emotionally and you leading with love, absolutely, the chances of you being impactful to that person are extremely heightened, right? It's increased astronomically.
Right.
But I also believe that motivation can inspire change. I believe that proper leadership can inspire change. You can lead somebody without ever communicating with them. Your actions can lead somebody in a different direction.
Yeah, but I think your actions say more. Your actions say more. I can tell you I love you, but if I don't sacrifice and show you, it falls on deaf ears.
But I could sacrifice and show you that same love just from being a good leader. I don't have to love you to lead you in the right direction.
But in order
to lead, just in general, you got to love people. Because leadership is a tremendous sacrifice.
I'm gonna take it from
it is.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Leaders finish last. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? And it ain't no leader, it ain't no successful leader ever in the world who didn't love people.
I agree.
But
you know what I'm saying?
So
I do feel like some people have to change their mindset, right? On their own, right? But what I'm saying is, to increase the chances, you have to lead with love. Trying to drill like a quote or something into somebody isn't going to work, man. Most people are walking around with their guard up because they've been hurt. They've been hurt.
Absolutely.
And love is the only thing that can heal that. You know what I'm saying? It's the only thing. A quote not going to heal something when you've been hurt. You know what they're going to say, man, ain't nobody trying to hear that right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they can say the same thing with love too. Some people don't. And this is what I'm saying, right? We live in a world where a lot of people don't understand love. They don't understand love. A lot of people don't understand it. Even more people don't recognize it.
I can see what you're saying, but a lot of times that's tough love. People love to be loved on, man. People love to be loved on. Some people think right? Some people think that you showing them, you may think you showing somebody tough love, and they may be receiving it as you hate them. That goes back to communication again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I say, and I think we definitely saying the same thing. It's just two sides of the same coin.
The same ballpark, for sure.
Right. It's two sides to the same coin, because I feel like if I'm effectively communicating with somebody who doesn't effectively communicate, it don't matter what I communicate to them. It don't matter what I'm leading with. If they can't process and understand communication, is it's going to have the communicative part of it is going to have to be all action. It can't be talking because they're not digesting the information. You know?
Now I can agree with that, and I'll let my man speak. I can agree with that.
Love is an action word. So for me, where I come from, and a lot of what you're saying, Will, with the love, I agree. And because I was a coach for 11 years, and I coached middle school kids and I coached high school kids. And these kids, in my opinion, are different than when we were growing up. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it was a quote that one of my guys that coached, he said, a kid don't care what you know, right?
Yep.
Until he knows how much you care. You know what I'm saying? And so the best relationships and the most successful seasons that I had is when I could break that barrier with kids, knowing how much that I cared about them as individuals. And then when we got to that part, they would run through a brick wall for me, right or wrong, because they knew that I cared and I was true to them. I could be wrong sometimes, but because they knew where my heart was at, then they would run through a brick wall for me. And so I think y'all saying both similar things,
even in that, right?
but
I agree.
I
That's
do
what
agree.
you're saying, right? And that's pretty much making my point to this point. But another thing I'll add to that is the reason why I say love is the only thing that can do it is because love is also patient. Communication, we want some type of response immediately, right? And if we don't get it, we think it ain't working. But love is a whole lot more patient. You know what I'm saying? And people, when they know you're just coming with love and you don't want anything in return, that's when people drop that guard. Most people are walking around with their guard up all day because they're trying not to be hurt, right? Which is totally normal. I get it, right? But I tell people the same thing that blocks out the pain also blocks out the love too. So we have to let each other know that, listen, man, it's okay to drop that arm. It's all right to just be cool. And then you have to be patient until they come around. But if you continue to lead with love, man, I've seen it. I've had people like contact me forever, like, yo, you've changed my life. And I know you probably didn't know this, but I came here just to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just because I'm genuinely trying to pour into their life. And I can only do that if I truly and genuinely love people. That's it. Communication and none of that stuff will even matter if you don't love people first. And that's leadership at its core, man. That's leadership at its core.
I respect it, but I you know, for me, it's multiple ways to approach it. Because some people, that's going to be your approach. Some people, that's going to be my approach. Some people, that's going to be, I'm going to be more vulnerable to that approach. Gotcha. But for me, and that's me understanding myself first, right? That's me understanding where I leave myself open for counterproductive whatever. And that's also understanding I'm my most productive with other people if I understand who I'm dealing with. I think I have to understand who I'm dealing with, at least to the capacity that I can better approach how I deal with that person. And some people, like you said, it's going to be with love. It has to be with love, or you're never going to accomplish anything with them.
Now, some people ain't going. Some people won't change.
Some people
I'm just
won't.
speaking in how do you get the best chance for change?
Yeah,
some people just ain't gonna change. You can't change everybody.
And you know what? And that's the part that I agree with you, right? I agree. So I'm gonna say this: I agree that you have to lead with love, but for me, you have to be able to identify who you're dealing with. You got to be able to identify, at least to the capacity, who you're dealing with as far as how you approach dealing with them. Because just like with teaching, right? As you know, and as you're going to continue to learn, you can't teach a room of 20 people the same way. You got to have 20 different teaching styles, 20 different ways to explain the same thing to 20 different people. You can put out a foundation, but everybody doesn't learn it the same way. Everybody don't understand information the same way. Everybody doesn't apply information the same way. So I can't believe that the way that I'm locking in with people can be one way.
I got you.
I just don't believe it.
But I will say this, and then we'll move on, right? Because we can talk on this all.
Right.
I'll say this, right? You are right. You got multiple different learning styles, right? And you can have all of them mastered. But if you don't love those people in that room, that communication style does not matter.
Okay. All right. So we go so Excellence had a question, and we'll start off with you, Will. Are barbers a reflection of the shop owner's leadership?
I will say yes and no. I will say yes, because as the leader, you allow those people in your business. So they are a reflection of you. Yes.
Right.
I will say no in the sense that sometimes you just don't have any better options and you're trying to keep your business running. So you settle for less. So it's not necessarily ideal. It's not the prototype. It's not the creator player person you picked, but it's what you have to work with.
Right.
So I will say yes and no.
Okay.
I agree with
Sure.
you.
What would you say?
Yes and no. It's both. Like you said, as the leader of the environment, it's kind of your job to set the standard and to best create countermeasures to help people to negate those pitfalls and bad habits and things like that. It's on you to identify where things could become problematic before they become problematic and address it. But no, because you have some people who just aren't receptive to leadership, no matter how it's offered, presented. And you have some people who aren't willing to look beyond their own ideals. They're not willing to adjust anything. They are who they are, and they're going to approach things how they're going to approach them. And they're more interested in making the environment bend to them than they are to adjusting to the environment.
Right. I agree with both of you guys. I think there are a lot of different variables that come into play, because, you know, you can have older barbers that you hire that are very set in their ways and have had a lot of experience in other barber shops. You can have younger barbers that are more acceptable or the same way. You know, they're coming in there, this independent contractor thing that we've talked about a lot. So it depends, because he followed up and said, barbers can be let go, but leaders accept the failure of their leadership. That can be true in some instances, not, because like you said, ultimately, even if you're leading with love, whatever, you're leading by example, whatever, every individual is not going to be accepting.
And I do agree with that. Leadership has to own that regardless. But I just understand the challenges in our industry because licensed professionals being so scarce. You're not picking from the cream of the crop.
Absolutely.
So you're making some concessions for the bottom line of your business, so you don't go out of business until you can get a better replacement.
Right.
So I'm saying I agree with a caveat, because ultimately they are a reflection. Like anybody in my business is a reflection of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to disregard that responsibility, but at the end of the day, when you're picking from people that you're not really, people don't have licenses, and you're trying to stay legit, you're between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. So you have to make the best of what you have until you can create a better way.
Absolutely. And I think one of the golden things that I had to learn, and a lot of people have to learn in this industry, especially if you own a barbershop, you're going into barbershop ownership or school ownership, whatever it is that you're doing, where you are the person, the point of contact for whatever business that you're getting into. Understand that no matter who you have in that business, no matter what happens in that business, when people share positive experiences, but people can't wait to share bad ones. And when they share them, they're not going to identify who they had that bad experience with. It's just going to be reflection of the business, period. It's not going to be, I had a bad experience with Jake, Rick, and Bob. It's going to be, I had a bad experience at this barbershop. I had a bad experience at this barber school. That in itself goes back to what he was saying up a little higher. negative experiences reflect poor leadership because it's always going to be on the shoulders of the leader.
I don't disagree with that. I agree.
To some extent. To some extent, because it goes back to me again, like you both agreed. Sometimes the pickings are slim, and sometimes you're just dealing with what you're dealing with until you can't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're in a rock and a hard place.
But why do you think that the pickings are so slim? Like, let me ask you a question, because me and you about to say we the same. You say 36, right? Okay, so me and you the same age, so we green. Ash got some history in the game, so he's seen some things that we haven't seen. So Ash, let me ask you, bro, why is it that, or better question, we've been taught that the traditions in barbering, right, the traditional barbershop with the white coats and, you know, the razor strap and all these traditions in barbering, right, someone was teaching those barbers those traditions. Where did that stop? Where did the traditional barbering education stop? And was that barber?
That's easy, man. It's the schools, man. It's the foundation. Every major business in the world has a farm system. Our farm system, unfortunately, is YouTube. And you know, anything is on the internet. You feel what I'm saying? So we gotta get to the ground level. Like, people have to get to a point where they say enough is enough, and I want to create the change I want to see. That's all I've done to create a school. Enough is
well, let me say this as well. I agree with that, but at the same time, I think standards have been lowered. For instance, you know, and I'm sure you can go all across the country and it happens, shop owners, because they're in a rock and a hard place, allowing people into their shops that don't have license, don't have the training.
That's exactly what I'm saying, though. I'm telling you, it's the schools.
Right.
Schools are what get people licensed, right?
So I'm gonna give you an example where I live at, Will, and why your progress with and opening up a school is so intriguing. So we're growing. I stay in a town of over 100,000 people. We don't have a barber school. We haven't had a barber school here in over 30 years. You know what I'm saying? You have cosmetology schools, and I got some barber brothers that went to cosmetology school, but like you talked about, there was very little cutting. They didn't learn a lot, right? And so what starts to happen, you don't have a barber school somewhere for 30 years. You get guys that are plugging in barbers who can cut hair, but have never had any. I'm about 130 miles.
If there
south
hasn't been a school out there for 30 years, that needs to be your focus, my friend. Seriously, the numbers are in your favor.
Absolutely.
The numbers are in your favor.
Absolutely.
I got 78 applications and I've been open 50 days. Business is numbers. There's not a barber school out there in 30 years. And you're already there. That's what you need to be doing. Bottom line. It'll change your life.
Real tough.
It's low hanging fruit.
Real tough.
Yeah.
It's low hanging fruit.
Right.
Especially when the research is already done for you.
If you know that is facts, and that's the reality.
Absolutely.
Don't let me come out there. Man, listen, man. Business is numbers.
Yeah.
Everybody want to open up a barbershop. Why? Because they think it's chairs and mirrors. It's easy. But it's one on every corner.
Right.
If you want your tree to grow fruit, you want it to grow large, the roots got to be deep.
Right. No doubt.
But it sounds like work. I know.
Y'all read some of these comments down here?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's real. I mean, you hit me between the eyes. That's real talk. And like you said, I worked in a school system, so I poured into kids so much. That's just part of, you know, who I am. And so when we talk about the love thing, that's just, I did it for 20 plus years. So it's in. So
it might have been the purpose of this
talk.
whole conversation.
Yeah.
Somebody need to challenge you. See, that's the problem with a lot of us, right? A lot of our friends and stuff. We want to cheer. You know what I'm saying? We want fans. We don't want nobody to hit us in between the eyes. But that's how change is created, man.
Right.
Life either got to hit you between the eyes, or somebody got to wake you up, man. Make them eyeballs pop. Not a school out there in 30 years. That's the first thing I heard. Oh, that's what you need to be doing then. Forget all this other stuff.
So like my son is a barber, and he cuts with me. When we sent him to barber school, we had to send him about 45 miles away. We had to put him in an apartment and all that. So he had to leave from the crib for 9 months to a year to go to barber school. Real talk.
Ain't no way. I would have looked at that like, oh, I need to create this. If it's this difficult, I need to create one.
Right.
Barbering ain't going nowhere. I mean, I tell people like this, man. You got to think about it. We're in the age of AI, artificial intelligence. Trade schools are going to hit a boom in the next 10 years. You can watch this video in 5 years from now. I'm like, Will said it. Doing business with your hands is going to be how you get paid.
It's already happening.
Otherwise, it's a robot coming to give you your pink slip.
It's already happening.
That's what I'm saying. I already know. Like, that's why I built one. I know what time it is. They told me I couldn't comprehend though, so I was like, I'm gonna show y'all.
Right.
Definitely. It's to the point, man, where the point of that question though is to challenge. Because I'll say it like this: you can line up 20 people in a room with 20 people and ask that question, you're gonna get 20 different answers. And the thing that's craziest to me is you can get 20 different answers, but you'll get 20 people to agree with every single answer. Because they're all relative to the change in the industry. So while I believe, yes, catching it at its foundation is the absolute best way. People like yourself opening schools, changing the narrative of how students are prepared to be professionals is first. That's first on the list. I also think it has to be somebody put in a position with state boards in all these different states that's upholding that standard more than just sanitary purposes in the barbershop.
But I agree with that, right? But it don't start there. See, what happens is you create a culture. Like what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a school and we're going to graduate 40, 50 professionals every year. If I do that for 5 years, now I got 250 people. If I got 250 people that believe in what I'm doing, we can get some stuff moving. You got to start buying politicians. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get stuff moving. That's what them people do. You don't say, oh, we need to vote this guy in. They're like, well, who is he? You're gonna need some money behind that. You're gonna need somebody with a message. You're gonna need somebody who can communicate. You're gonna need somebody with a resume. Create change. So I tell people, you have to get to a point where you're so good they can no longer ignore you. Right now, one person hollering, we need change ain't gonna do nothing. It never has. It never has. Right. So you got to go build a movement. Right. You got to create an identity shift. What better way to do that than start a school? Yeah. You think if Paul Mitchell and some of them wanted cosmetology rules changed, you think it would change? You better believe it.
They have already done it. They've done it in a lot of places.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, out here, you can call me the barber Paul Mitchell. I'm telling you, that's exactly what I'm going to do. It start with school. People can say whatever they want. It's going to start with school. We're going to build. Atlanta is a growing city, and I'm going to create a movement of change, and I'm going to have all my ducks in a row, have everything lined up, and then when I need to go speak to the people I need to speak to, it ain't going to be too much of an argument, because I'm going to be like, look, I did all this, this, and this, and this. This is what we need now. But that's how you got to do it. You can't. People. It's like being at the job crying for a raise. No, go bring in new business. They'll give you some money. You want state board rules to change? Okay, go create the change you want. Let me see you do it first before you start coming up here trying to tell me how to do my job. You know how people are. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. That's why I tell people, you want to create change in Atlanta? Come to the school, man. Enrollment ain't full yet. Don't tell me about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Come on. I'm training instructors and students in the day class. It's 10 spots on the day class open, and we'll take a couple more instructors. Come on.
So what's the plan to once you've downloaded and you've captured students who buy into that that identity, right? What's your plan to uphold that standard once they've graduated your program?
Put them in my shops.
That was gonna
I
ask
say,
that.
okay, well, you only got 2 shops. It's 20 barbers. Okay. But I got 2 managers that's ready for their own right now. All we're waiting on is legitimate licensed barbers. And you're going to see this thing go from 2 to 10. The infrastructure is already in place. All we need is willing bodies. That's it. That's why I tell people, if people really want to be about change, man, we got the whole entire operation. You ain't never got to pick up a pair of clippers a day in your life, and you can come to ProFresh Barber Academy. We'll teach you how to get good, how to market yourself, get you licensed, put you in a shop where you can make 6 figures. You can come back to school, get your instructor license, you can open up a shop. Once you join the ProFresh brand, you don't have to leave. Leadership is strong, and we always growing. All people want is growth. That's all they want. We're taking the top off. Ain't no limit.
I wish Mo, Miami barber, I don't know if you're familiar with him, man. He's out in Miami, Florida. I wish so badly that Mo was part of this live, man, because first time we spoke to that guy, the first thing he said, I asked him that same question. What do you know? Actually, the question was, what do you believe the importance of a podcast? What makes a good podcast, right? And one thing he just said, the one thing that he said was what you're doing. He said it is effective change. Don't talk about it. He don't want to talk to people that's just talking about it. What are you doing about it? And that's the lane you in. You're doing.
People talk to me now. It's 15 years later.
Right.
I've been putting in work. That's why people want to talk to me now. Because it's like, yo, like, we see what's going on. I got people coming up to me every day now. Yo, you was the topic of the conversation at this event 2 weeks ago. We called you this. I said, yeah, but I've been doing this for 15 years. Everybody want to call me now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, but I don't mind it. Because I'm at the end of the day, it's mission above all. It's the mission above it.
Timing,
you know what I'm saying? But I'm prepared. All my ducks in a row. It's showtime now. But I don't say that from an arrogant space. I say that from a place where it's like, listen, man, these roots deep, man. This in my blood. It's not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like you asked me at the beginning, is this partnerships, this owner? No, this man and my wife, that's it. But we're going to build it, and we're going to keep going. And I got incredible people on my team that we built relationships with, but they bought into that vision. And don't get me mistaken. Without them, it ain't possible. Because you can't go far as a one-man show. You know how I feel about that. You got to have a team. But at the end of the day, somebody got to be the visionary. And if I'm going to be the visionary, I got to be the hardest worker too. And those people buy into that vision because they see the work I put in, day out. You can ask the people on my team, ain't nobody going to debate the work ethic that's being put in. And they'll tell you, to man, whether I'm there or not, they'll say, listen, man, the man do what he say he's going to do. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for from your leader. That's it. My students respect the culture that I'm trying to build because they see the type of preparation I put in every single day. They're like, yo, you've been here 50 days. You ain't took one day off and you're always prepared. This is what it is.
So got a question, and it's something that we've talked about, Shy, pretty often with other barbers, and as hard as we go and looking to elevate. So Will, for you, your family man as well, an entrepreneur, you got a lot of hats you wear, because we haven't even talked about the real estate yet. How do you create that balance between family and your business? And before you answer that, I just want to give you a shout out, because look, I stole one of your concepts. You were the first barber, and me and you even discussed this, that I saw taking Saturdays off to have family time. And I took a page out of your book, man, and I started taking my Saturdays off to give that time to the wife and the family. So I appreciate that. But how do you create that balance?
Well, it's a lot easier if you enroll them in the vision, right? So a lot of times we try to work hard and we just be like, well, you know, you just give it time, you got to understand. But you have to enroll them in the vision. Like my wife and me are in sync. We're on the same page. How we parent, our goals, what we want to do. Early on, it took a little different, right? Because I'm completely different than she is. She grew up real family structured. I grew up, family wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So it would be times where, you know, she would want to sit home and watch a Christmas movie with the kids, and I would be like, yo, I won't watch that. But she's like, what? Like, you never seen Christmas Carol? And I used to be like, no. Like, who's going to sit down and watch it with me? You know what I'm saying? It meant a lot to her. Family vacations meant a lot to her.
Right.
So what I had to understand was how she prefers to be loved, which is quality time. So me and my wife make sure that we focus on our time like that. She likes quality time and acts of service. So I make sure I get stuff done for her, plus also make sure she get her quality time. So I don't like to go to the grocery store. I hate the grocery store. But if she asks me to go, that's quality time. I'm going to go. I like to work out. She knows quality time is her thing, so she'll come work out with me. You know what I'm saying? Then we do, you know, Fridays where we, you know, we date each other. We like to go eat seafood and stuff like that. So we'll go date and chat and all that. So we put that time in. Then our girls are in activities. So sometimes for them, they just want us to have movie night on Friday night. So we'll order pizza and watch movie on Friday night. Right? So I tell people it's not a balanced thing. It's a focused thing. Right? Kids are in school, you know what I'm saying, majority of the time. But I used to work 6 to 2 and get off and get home at 2:30 and get my daughters off the bus at 3 o'clock. So I'm home from 3 to 8 o'clock. Now that my daughters are a little bit older, I take them to the gym with me. So, you know what I'm saying? So you have to enroll them in the vision and in the activities that's already going on and not separate it as much. Now, with my schedule right now, temporarily, it is a little challenging right now because there's a lot going on in my house. I went back to work on Saturday just a little bit. I took off a year, right? A complete year and like probably a year and 2 months. But now I work a little bit on Saturday from like 6 to 12 just to keep a group of core clients, just to give myself a little bit of a salary while I build the school. And then eventually my clients, they see the writings on the wall. This will probably be the last year of that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but that's why I need a strong team. That's why I got to develop a team of barbers. I tell barbers, if you want to grow, just come work next to me, man. I'll pass you a whole 6-figure high elite clientele as long as you just listen to what I'm telling you. But, you know, they're too busy wanting to put their own logo on the wall that I can't even give you nothing because you want to be the boss. You know what I'm saying? But that's a story for another day. But as far as my kids, we keep them enrolled. They're all in dance and stuff like that. So I get off in time to make sure I take them to dance. And, you know, we'll go have dinner. Like this weekend, I took a couple of my daughters. We went and sat down at Red Lobster and we talked and kicked it. So as long as you put the time in and you make the effort and you enroll them in the vision, like you talked about the real estate, right? So we got real estate. My daughters, that's how they make money. They go clean the condos. We go as a family and clean the condos sometimes. It's not that we can't hire a cleaner. It's just quality time. And I get to teach them business and I enroll them in the vision. And
So how did that, so the whole real estate, as we talk, because one of the beauties about what we do is different people sit in our chair and it privies us to a lot of information. And so I think I can speak for both of us, not saying that Shai wants to necessarily be a landlord, but just the thought of passive income and different streams of income. Because I think Shai probably want to get from behind the chair.
3 years. That's my thing. I'm setting 3 years, and I'm gonna be done behind the chair.
So you come into contact, or how did you gain the opportunity to step into the real estate side?
You can't really get involved unless you got some money, right? So you got to save your money. You know, I always tell people, like, I got a course I charge $147 for it that teach you everything I know about money and how I got to the places I got to with money management, right? I teach you a whole formula. I used to be, when I was a young man, it was like $30,000 in debt, got myself 100% debt free and built all my businesses and was able to acquire real estate with an 800 credit score. Everything that I learned in that process is online for $147. All you gotta do is click the link. Now, how I got into it was, during the pandemic, me and my wife, she just wanted to get away, right? Everybody felt like that. We was trapped in the house. And so she was like, I want to, let's just go down distance, 5 hours. We can drive there. We don't have to fly, get on no plane. Because at some point, they weren't letting you get on a plane without the vaccine and all that, rah, rah. So we drove down and we were just walking the strip, and it was about 80 degrees and the sun was about to set. And she was like, let's stop over here at this little Pompano Joe's little restaurant and grab a cocktail. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we grabbed that and we're just sitting out there, and we're just kind of talking and kicking it and enjoying the breeze and the white sand, and we're just looking around like, man, what I would do to just chill out here for a week. You know what I mean? We locked up in the house. So she turns around and she's like, but I would just love to have one of these condos right here. And I'm like, well, let's get one. She's like, no. We just lost so much money. The shop's being closed and got to rebuild the businesses and all that. And I was like, yeah, but let's just get one anyway. Like, why not? I was like, we would rent one. So, worst case scenario, we rent it out and we ain't using it. And we'll just take vacations every year. She was like, nah, just not right now. And I was like, man, so one of my old clients, he lives in Florida on the Gulf Coast. So I called him. I was like, yo, bro, I was like, are you busy? And he was like, nah, what you got? And I was like, I want to get some information on one of these condos, man. I was like, I want to buy one. And he was like, for real? I was like, yeah. So I was like, we're about to leave now, because we got to get back on the road and go home. I said, but look some stuff up, and next weekend I'm going to come back down. We're going to look. So we came back down 3 consecutive weekends in a row and found one. And at the time, because of all the uncertainty with the pandemic, they had programs going on where like vacation homes you could buy for like 10%. And it was like $230,000. And a lady was older. She wanted to get out of it. And I was just like, yo, 23 grand and I can own this? Because she was willing to put up 5,000 for closing costs. So I think it was like 25,000 total. I paid for it and we got it. And I bought it in October. Then, my wife's dad does a little bit of handyman stuff. We made some adjustments, bought some furniture. My wife fully designed it. And by February, we was already booking out for spring break. And it just started going crazy. And then we were getting like $400 or $500 a night in the summertime because of the pandemic, built up demand, which is ridiculous. So we made like $30,000 off it in cash flow in like the first 9 months. And I turned around and took that 30,000 and put another 20,000 with it and bought a condo in Atlanta. And then I got 3 in Atlanta now, so I got 4 total. And so we just, and it did that every year. So I just kept using that one property that I bought in the middle of a pandemic when everybody was like, no, the market is going to crash. And it almost to this date have doubled in value, more than what I paid for it. Plus it prints crazy cash flow, and I just took that money and just bought more. So it's always been a theme of what I've always done is I've always lived off of what I make cutting hair, even with all my other streams of income. And all I do is just buy more income with that. So there's a phrase out there that says get money, buy income. That's exactly what I do. And now it gives me to a point where I have options to where I can go build a school and not have to be pressed to try to sell a student on why they should come. And when you're not salesy and you just present content and you give away so much free game, people want to come give you their money. So that's kind of the how I got started. And then with my daughters and stuff, they're young, obviously, but I pay them to go clean the condo. A 13-year-old, you give them $50 and, they think they lit, you know what I'm saying? So it just is what it is, right? So, and they got their own bank account. So I'm teaching them how to manage money. And, they get excited to just come to me, Dad, I got $347. And I'm like, oh, you lit. I'm like, God, like, I want to buy you something for your birthday. So now it's like, because, and it shows me something, right? It's like when you have money and you're not drowning in debt, that's when you're your most generous. You know what I mean? I believe if people can get the money problem out the way, they can really do what they want to do. Right. You know what I'm saying? And when they can do that, that's when the world becomes a better place. So.
Okay. Did you ever believe, and this is one of the things, and so for everybody who's tuned in, this is the I Cut My Way Out podcast. We have Will Stam. Go follow him, check him out, follow the I Cut My Way Out podcast. We just, every week, man, it's amazing stories, man. Did you ever think that a pair of clippers could
Nope.
do all the things that it's done for you?
And I tell people, it doesn't start like that. You just have to be faithful over a few.
Right.
And all I did was I just found something I liked. And I was like, man, this is cool. Right. And then I was actually pretty decent at it. Right. And then I just worked on it from there. And then it just, like I tell people, like, I may never be labeled as like the greatest barber you ever seen. But as long as I can make a significant impact, that'll be good enough for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's super dope. Man. Super dope. Man, so what is you're a visionary, and again, we've communicated and we've talked about things, and I've seen some things, you know, come to pass, right? What does your future look like for you?
For me, I think I'll probably, what I see right now is I'll probably be one of the greatest motivational speakers in the world. That's what I see.
That's what's up.
I think it fits me. I think, you know, I can I speak well. I have a story to tell. And I'm just very serious about helping people, right? And I think if I just keep going at the rate I'm going, I won't even have to try. I think everything I'm doing now is just training me for that moment, right? And I'm honing my skills right now. I'm in the front of the classroom every day. So it's going to go from 20 people to 20,000 people. Just like it went from 1 to 2, from 2 to 6, from 6 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 20,000. That's just what I see, because I'm honing that craft every single day. And nobody wants to hear from somebody who hasn't done anything. And if I keep going at the rate I'm going, the resume will have a whole lot on it, and people are going to want to know why. And I'll get opportunities. And I just think by preparing every day to be my absolute best, I think when my opportunity comes, I think I'm gonna hit a home run.
Absolutely. And if you don't believe that,
I think it's really
who else
a
is,
foregone
man?
conclusion. It's just all been simmering. I knew I was going to open up a school one day. You know, it just everything happens in time. You don't have to force this thing. I'm 36 years old. Most of the motivational speakers you hear are 40s and 50s. I'm on my way. I'm not behind schedule at all. It's just the natural evolution, and I wish more people understood that. Just go be great today. I think it's in the Bible. It says don't worry about tomorrow, because today has its own troubles. Just be great today and deal with tomorrow when it gets here.
No doubt. And it's interesting because, you know, if you research, most of the extremely wealthy people didn't become extremely wealthy until middle age, 50s, 60s. That's when the real money started to come for a lot of
building a
wealthy
story
people.
now.
You know what I mean?
Stories are what sells.
Absolutely.
Stories are what people accept as truth. A well-communicated story becomes truth.
Absolutely.
You can look throughout the Bible. It's a book of stories that we accept as truth. It just is what it is, man. It just is what it is. It is what it is. A well-communicated story is true. Call it what you want.
Right. No doubt. Man, this is always inspirational, man. Like I say, visionary, man. Really appreciate what you're doing for the industry, for the city of Atlanta, for the up-and-coming barbers. One other question: do you ever foresee the possibility of virtual classes with barber schools, or even with your barber school?
You can, but our industry is so hands-on. It's a trade. There's no replacing that. 100%.
Right.
It's just, if it could go 100% digital, a robot can do it.
Yep.
And I just don't see it. I do see some advanced education. I do see some theory. You know, people are asking me now, like, man, I want to get in and be in your classroom for theory and stuff. And I'm like, I can set up a camera and do all that, but my main focus right now to the people that are in my classroom live. That's my focus. Those people deserve my absolute best. They paid their money. They show up every day ready to learn and ready to work. And I owe them my 100% focus. You know, people are like, Stan, you need a podcast. I'm like, I don't want to do that right now. Stan, you need to write a book. I don't want to do that right now. Stan, you need to create your own product line. I just don't want to do that right now. I am focused on being a teacher, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. And I tell people, like, you gotta lock in on something if you want to be great. Wearing all these hats is not what you really want to do. I know it strokes your ego and makes you feel like a hustler, but you need to focus, man. You know what I mean? Like
overworked and
overworked and underpaid, right?
Yeah.
Because you got all these things, and you're like, man, when am I going to get a return? Yeah. You get a return by focusing.
Yeah.
Right.
The goal is this guy told me, man, one of a really good client. He told me the five, it was consolidate, automate, eliminate, delegate.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But, and I tell people are like, oh man, Stan, I want to invest for passive income. And I'm like, okay, but passive income is the fruit of a whole lot of labor that you're now able to delegate. People think they just want to invest some money and create passive income. It don't work like that, man. If you buying stocks for passive income, it take hella research. You have to put that work in. You have to lose some money first.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? My first real estate investment was $10,000. I never saw the money.
Right.
The second one was 25, and I made it all back.
Right.
You got to go through. You're gonna take some L's. You got to put some work in. You got to put some sweat equity. You got to do something.
No doubt.
Tell people like, oh, yeah, I want to get passive income. I'm like, that sound cute.
Right.
But a person who get it know what it take to get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to just, I want to tell people, you got to commit to something, man. Don't put no time limit on that. Commit to it and build it. And when the passive income show up, take that money and buy income with it.
Yeah. So you're through.
So,
yes, sir.
Ain't no running from the work, man. Ain't no running from the work, man. You're going to pay now, you're going to pay later. But one thing you're going to do is PAY.
Right. No doubt. Yeah. My last question for you, with the barber school, what's your tuition? Do you have, are you at a point, just opening financial aid based? Is it, what's the tuition like? How does that look for your students?
All right. So we have a day program, which is 12 months.
Okay.
My tuition is a very, very reasonable $10,000. Most barber schools is 20 grand. They got financial aid. I went to barber school for $6 grand back in 2006. $10,000. I found a really good deal on a space.
Okay.
And I poured a lot into it. And $10,000 is what I feel like at this moment in time, early on, is a reasonable rate. Now it's $1,000 for your kit, but that's all your books and all your clippers and your mannequin, all shears, all that stuff, right? I think that cost for me, that's about $900.
Okay.
So it's $1,000. So you pay $2,500 down for the day program.
Okay.
Right? $1,500 of that is your down payment on tuition. $1,000 of that is your kit. And then you pay $708 a month.
Okay.
It's 5 days a week school, Monday through Friday. All right. So then you have your night program, which is 18 months. Okay. Same exact cost. It's just broken up over 18 months. So it's $2,000 down. $1,000 is your kit. $1,000 for your down payment on tuition, and then it's $500 a month for 18 months. Okay. There's no interest or anything on it. You just have to, your balance has to be paid in full before I sign off for you to take your test or give you your transcript. So if you come for 10 months and then you, for some reason, have to take a leave of absence, your bill got to be paid in full for me to release your transcript up until that date. You know what I'm saying? Right. Your payment got to be current. Otherwise, I don't owe you anything.
That's what's up.
And I'm teaching you marketing. I'm teaching you business. And I'll be honest with you, it's not going to be this cheap forever.
Right.
So get it now. Like I get better every single day because I'm that committed. Our culture is you only get better by doing your best.
Do you offer
so I'm going
financial aid?
I can't just yet because financial aid, you have to be open for 2 years, show a profitable business, and then you have to apply. And that's a 1 to 2 year process. So if everything works in my favor, I got to be open for 3 years before I can get approved for that. Okay. Right. So people always ask that. Right. And I'm like, as a new school, you can't. If that was the case, everybody open up a school. If they could just get $20,000.
I had no idea.
You know what I mean? So you have to be open. You have to be open for 2 years, and then you have to apply. So it's you have to, you know, struggle, I guess, through your first couple years. But that's why
it's almost like that's their vetting process.
it is
Same
their
thing with
vetting process.
license. You have to have your barber's license active for 3 years in some places more than that before you can even apply.
Which I don't mind that, because it's a vetting process. You don't want to give everybody everything. You want it only to commit to survive, right? Yeah. So I don't mind that. But me doing my research on the front end, I knew all of that.
Right.
So I knew I had to create passive income streams and all that to be able to assist in the challenges that come with opening a new business. That's why, you know, that's why when people are like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm like, man, come on, sign up. Go ahead and think you can do it. Like, I know the type of work I had to put in. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's why I can speak confidently. It's not from a space where I don't think nobody can do what I do. I just know the type of work I put in. You can't do that overnight.
Right.
No.
You can't do that overnight. You know what I'm saying? So I just tell people, man, this is what you want, man. Come on, sign up for school. Our next class starts April 3rd. And I mean, this is my guarantee to anybody who joins my school, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. I will change your life. You will not be the same if you come to work or come to school 90% of the days you're supposed to, and you listen to what I'm telling you. Your life will transform. Ask me how I know. Mine has transformed over the last 15 years, and I've packaged all that up, and I'm giving it to you for a small fee.
That's what's up. Man, was you saying something, Shy?
No.
Okay. Man, we greatly appreciate having you on again, man. Super proud of you, man.
I appreciate it.
Helping move the industry forward, man. Happy for your family. It's inspiring, and man, we appreciate everybody that's viewed. Follow, if you're not following, follow I Cut My Way Out podcast. Follow Will Stam. Follow Shy. We're here 7:30 Central Standard Time every Wednesday. And gratitude, my brother, man. We really appreciate it, bro.
All right.
Oh, I mean,
I appreciate you having me.
If you haven't already, make sure you go on YouTube and search up Will's video on how to cut with them detachable clippers. It changed my whole barbering game, bro.
I still get comments about that. That was the video. That was the video that I knew I could teach.
Bro, that was the most detailed but understandable video I've ever watched on YouTube.
That's what's up, man.
I put my adjustables down for probably 5 months after I watched that video, and I just forced myself to use detachables for everything. Then when I went back to my adjustables, it's like, you know what? I could use these together. That one ain't gotta be.
I was teaching that to my students today. Yeah, I really was, like, how to transfer them back and forth.
Absolutely.
And all that.
It'll change your barbering experience.
That chart that I have on in some of those videos, I still have it in my classroom. It's like I don't know. It's like this. It's like the symbol of the school. You know, so I could have just put that as the logo, because that was the first thing I knew when I was teaching, and they were like, "Yo, who created this?" And I was like, "Me." And that chart still has like the guards. I took literally a white sheet of paper, and I put the guard on top of it, and took a camera and took a picture of it, and then sent all those files to my graphic guy. And he put it on a chart for me, and I went to FedEx Kinko's and had the banner made for like $300.
Chart in my phone, bro. That screen.
Yo, I have it on PDF, man. I sell it to people for like $50.
Wow.
I would love to have it in every barber school across the nation.
It's worth it. It is worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it.
I teach from it on a regular. I got videos I've been putting up and stuff, and people are like, "Yo, that chart changed my life," and it's so crazy because I just created it because people were asking me to come teach at school. And I was like, "Well, I need this," so I bought it just to go teach people. You know, I was going to do it for free, but I just wanted to look like a professional because I just that's how I carry myself, man. And that video has probably inspired and taught a lot of barbers.
Most definitely.
And it's always good for people to tell me that, because it's like, dang, like it feels good that you can create something that 10 years later is still having an impact.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
that video helped me put away my fears of detachables, because I avoided detachables like they was COVID for a minute.
That's
like, nah.
So crazy, man. That's so cool. Yeah. I would have created a bunch more videos, right? But at that time, people were like, Stan, why don't you create more YouTube videos? And I'll be honest, the reason why I didn't is because back in that time, people were like charging like $500, $600, $700 a video.
Yeah.
Before all the iPhone and all that stuff came out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was way ahead of like Chris Bossio and them.
Right.
Chris and them were great, don't get me wrong, right? But I was way ahead of them early doing that, and I just didn't want to invest the money in creating the video, and then I wasn't like a techie. You know, the techie people, that was the generation after us. Like, they're 30 years old now. I'm 36, 37. Like, I got on Facebook and all that later.
Even 10 years later, though, even 10 years later, that video still presents well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that video don't present like it's 10 years old.
Every week somebody watches it and they're like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm like, I ain't put YouTube videos out in years. Like full length ones. Like now everything is 45 seconds, a minute or less.
Absolutely.
So I can't do that. But I haven't put them out in years, man. So, but that's when I knew like teaching was something that I was gonna do very well in.
That's what's up. Listen, I can't wait to meet you in CT, bro. When I see you in CT, just know I'm gonna be the dude with the weird beard. But I'm telling you, bro, I gotta shake your hand, bro. I gotta shake your hand.
And hey, man, I submitted to be instructor of the year.
Okay.
So if I possibly somehow, I don't know, maybe they'll email me or something, but if I somehow get nominated for that, maybe you guys can, give me a vote. For instructor of the year, so maybe I could possibly win.
Definitely.
Like I tell people, like, I've never been into trophies and all that, right? But just the exposure of being able to be recognized for the school I built would feel really good, and it would help my school go a long way.
Absolutely, man. I'll be looking out to see if you get nominated for that.
Send in an email or a DM or something, or what I'm saying, make a little video saying,
hey,
man, nominate this guy.
Some of them back channels, man. We can work some of them back channels.
Yes, sir.
Send an email or something in, man. A little video, man. Nominate Stam.
I'm going to send them that damn detachable video, and you going to get that nominated, bro.
Hey, whatever you got to do for me, man. Whatever you got to nominate it. If you want to send in a recommendation, please vote for your boy, man. It'll help me push my mission forward of just raising the foundation of our industry. I believe that if you raise the bar, you attract the winners and you lose the losers.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Facts. Big facts.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, by voting for me, you're voting to raise the bar.
Absolutely.
There you go. There you
Absolutely.
go. I had to get real politician-like on y'all.
Hey, Will, man, we really appreciate you, bro. Like I said, I got a list in my head of 5 people that I cannot wait to meet. 5 people. I don't care what I got to do. When I get to CT, it is 5 people I am going to meet face to face. You're definitely on that list, bro. Hey, you've been on that list for a while, bro. You on that list.
I appreciate that. I'll be looking forward to it, man.
We can't wait to get out there. I'm excited.
It's y'all first year?
First year.
Well, it's my
last year was my first year.
Really?
You're in for a treat, man.
Yeah.
You're in for a treat, man, for sure, man. It just the inspiration, and Jay Majors puts on an incredible event. Like, to see how big it has gotten in a small town like Connecticut, he deserves everything he has gotten from that. And like I tell people sometimes, Jay is a bit, aggressive at times with people, but I tell people, man, there's a lot on the line, man. There's a lot invested in that. He don't have time to play games. And it's hard for people to understand that because they don't know how much goes into putting on an event like that. That man, it's the one event that I won't miss that I go to every year. This will be my 2nd year. And when I seen Jay last year, I was like, it's my first time. He was like, bro, what? Yeah. He was like, no way, man. And he was excited because he saw me teach a couple years back, and he was like, man, so it's a room filled with love and inspiration, man, if nothing else.
We're gonna be there to soak it all up.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. It's an annual for me, man.
Yes, sir.
Now I won't. The dude just asked, like, will I have a booth? No, I'll just be walking around.
Right.
I'll be walking around. I don't have any products to sell, man. I sell haircuts in school. You know what I mean? I'm not into the t-shirts and all that stuff. It's just I respect those people that do that and sell clippers and products. It's just, like I said, I'm a focused individual, and my focus is building my schools and my shops, and then helping my team members eventually, like I said, enter into ownership and retire financially free.
No doubt. He was asking It's May 20th through the 22nd.
Yeah.
In Connecticut with Mohegan Sun. Yep.
And book the VIP, man.
Yeah.
Last year I think I paid $250 for a VIP ticket.
I already booked.
And they gave me a book bag full of like products that had to be worth every bit of like $200.
I already booked.
Right.
You
and
booked
then and then you get to go to the Grammys and all that, get the network. I mean, $250 is worth the ticket. You get the education stuff, and there's some good educators this year.
Man,
last year they had some good ones too. So
he showed the event space. The event space in and of itself.
Yeah. It's a casino, man. So you're
like, damn.
they have entertainment. They casino. They got good restaurants. Yeah. I told you, Jay hit a home run, man. He hit a home run there, and he deserves everything that he got coming to him for building an event like that. He deserves all
That's
that.
What's up.
Yeah.
So, man, we ain't gonna hold you no more. We're gonna let you get back to the wife and the family, man. We appreciate you.
2 hours later, right? 2 hours later.
Right. We had to get you for them 2 hours, man. So we appreciate it, man. We'll stay in tune, man. We'll be following you, follow us, and we'll definitely link when we're in CT. Man.
All right. Good deal, man. Y'all take care of yourself.
Greatly appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Peace.
We appreciate it. Y'all have a good night as well.